Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. A beautiful day here in Florham Park. More than 1,500 fans storming through the gates here at One Jets Drive. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Quincy Enunwa batting leadoff here on Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Back together Saturday. What a great way to really, I feel like we had the open practice Thursday, but this is really the first time that fans get to enjoy a little bit of Jets football in the summer.
So the last of 4 non-padded practices to start training camp. The pads come on Monday, but I think Quincy wants to put the pads on right now because he just talked to Sean Jefferson, the Jets wide receiver coach, on the field. You ready to lace them up or what?
Oh, of course. I told him if you need a couple snaps out there, let me give guys a little bit of a breather. You know, I got a couple in me to go out there and do something.
You'd like to play with that guy right there, Aaron Rodgers.
It would be amazing. I mean, this guy is different. I don't think anybody really knows from the outside, but inside you get to see so many of the meticulous things that he does at the line, understanding what the defense is doing. And, I mean, I've never played with a guy like that, so I would love to just get one snap.
Look, we have a loaded show. It's going to be a loaded practice considering the fans are here. We got a loaded show. Quincy's here. Mark Sanchez is here. Breland Edwards is here. Brian Baldinger and Caroline Hendershot join us later. Quincy, with a guy like this, with Aaron Rodgers, you came to practice a lot last season. What did you see last year in training camp that you either hope to see or hope to see more of now?
Yeah, I mean, I think not even training camp, right, during the season, I think we saw a lot of static plays, right? So I think the amazing thing that you see during training camp with Aaron Rodgers is the ability to switch out of a play, and I think that's the most important thing. Like, if you're playing Madden, right, or even the new college football for all those fans out there, you get out there, you really feel like Aaron Rodgers because you might be able to read the defense and switch the play a little bit, but that wasn't happening so much during the season. So now with Aaron Rodgers, you really get to see him go out there, dissect the defense, and put them in the right play.
So I just want to point out there, we're watching Breece Hall, but number 15 was on the screen just a second ago. There he is. Adrian Martinez signs with the Jets.
That'll be great.
So yes, that's right, a Nebraska product. So the Jets have another quarterback here in camp.
That's why Quincy was bringing up college football, the video game, because he knew Adrian Martinez was on the screen or about to be.
Yeah.
Look, the Jets made a quarterback move. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is the guy. The Jets have some depth with Andrew Peasley. Jordan Travis is on the non-football injury list. So the Jets signed a quarterback by the name of Ben Bryant the other day, and then they swap him for Adrian Martinez. Yep. The Jets also made another move. They signed Kendall Sheffield, and then they released Nehemiah Shelton. So just some depth signings, comings and goings, which this time of year is pretty standard.
Rodgers is wearing red right now, gentlemen, but he was seeing green in the red zone yesterday. A couple of scoring passes to Rod Taylor. We also saw him taking some snaps as well. He also got his unit into the end zone. Just what you'd expect from Aaron Rodgers here at the start of camp. He's been lights out.
Yeah, he's been great, and I'm glad you mentioned Taylor's drive, because if we're going back to the show we did, the training camp preview show on CBS, Quincy, you mentioned that you want to see Jeremy Ruckert a little more incorporated this year. Year 3 for him, as well as players obviously like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Jermaine Johnson. He was the one that caught the touchdown in the red zone from Taylor. So when you say that you wanted to see more from him in training camp before the pads come on, he's obviously a great blocker. Yeah. What can he do to impress you in the passing game?
Well, just like you said, scoring touchdowns in the red zone, I think that's a huge place for tight ends, right? You want to get those big bodies, get them up there. I mean, we saw time and time again, unfortunately, against the Jets, but with Gronk out there, right? You saw him making so many great plays. I would love to see Ruckert take that next step. I said it during the show, and I think he might have listened, right? Because he came in and made some plays. So, listen, man, I'm telling you, man, the year 3 is the best year for a player. It's where you feel more confident. You feel like you belong out there. Let's
There's the rookie hype machine rolling
2024 New York Jets rookies running and getting the crowd involved here early.
Oh, look, they're doing like a full lap, huh? Someone's got their shirt off.
No shirts on.
Somebody's got their shirt off.
So someone, look, I don't know who that's an offensive lineman or a tight end.
He needs a 10, whoever that is.
And that's Andrew Peasley, number 14, if you're wondering who the depth quarterback is. It's him and Adrian Martinez. And you think about, Jalen Key is part of that group too, Mr. Irrelevant. He had an interception yesterday.
Yeah, he was making himself relevant out there on the field, Jalen Key. Listen, this is the time for young players to take advantage of their opportunities. What I really liked about yesterday's practice is Tyron Smith, who got a conditioning day. Olu Fashanu got valuable reps out there protecting Aaron Rodgers' blind side. And now Malachi Corley is a guy I'm going to circle right now for the next couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, because Xavier Gibson, unfortunately, he's dealing with a leg ailment. But Q, with that being said, there's a positive, there's a silver lining. Corley will be able to get some more reps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll be tough for him in the first going, right? He's a guy that his skill set is much more suited when he has the ball in his hands and his pads on. So right now it's going to be really about developing himself, really going against some of these great corners that the Jets have, and really understanding how to run routes the best way.
We talked about Sean Jay earlier.
Yes,
you overlapped with him here with the Jets. What is he like as a coach? Because we see him, he's got cleats, he's got high socks, he looks like he's ready to go through the drills himself.
He's absolutely high energy, right? There's a guy that's going to go out there, and even on the days that you have low energy, he's going to raise it up every time. He goes out there and he challenges you. Sometimes, I don't know if he's going to do it anymore, he's getting a little bit older. Sometimes he might even put the pads on and go out there and do blocking drills with you. So that's a guy, he loves football. You can tell he loves football, and it makes sense for the Jets to have brought him.
How about those two guys? They both love football. That's Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson. Sauce Gardner picked up golf here in the offseason. But I'll tell you what, he's been all over the place early in training camp. And Jermaine Johnson is going to be counted on big time here. Q, what are your thoughts here early? Hassan Reddick still yet to report.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is a pro, right? So I think at the end of the day, we know that he's going to be putting in the work that needed to come back and play the way we know he's capable of doing. But, you know, I think ultimately he's going to give those guys behind him so many more opportunities. And training camp is the best time for that. You know, you have the 2s and the 3s, but if you're a 2 that gets to go up against the 1s because somebody's not here, that's your opportunity to shine. I mean, I was a guy that was lower on the roster that had those opportunities, and I shined when I had them, and it gave me an opportunity to play.
Do you think that there's a big difference, let's say in Reddick's case, like these practices are basically like OTA practices where you don't have pads on,
Right.
as someone who played the game and now you analyze it, where do you have like your calendar circled? Like, okay, maybe I'm looking at the pads and that's a little more important for Reddick to show up and be maybe concerned.
I mean, I think for a player, every practice is important, right? You shouldn't really look at it that way, but I think just in terms of him understanding the plays and everything, I'm hoping that, you know, he's still making sure he's in his playbook, because that's the biggest thing, right? Technique-wise, especially as a pass rusher type of player, those are the things that are never going to leave you. You know, you're going to continue to work on those things, but just make sure you understand the plays and what your assignment is in different plays.
Robert Saleh here in his 4th year as head coach of the New York Jets. Huey's talked about this feeling very businesslike around here and a little bit quieter. He's stressed it being the 2024 Jets training camp more calm. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Hard Knocks isn't here, right? So that's a big thing. You know, even when I walked in, though, I felt it. I still feel the energy from the Jets fans, but I think now it's a little bit more subdued. You know, I think everybody's just excited to see what's going to happen, whereas before everybody was just excited for people to step on the field. Now they want to see the results, right? They know what this team is capable of, and they really just want to see it all kind of come together with Aaron Rodgers at the helm.
Who do you want to see other guys in practice today? Because this is your first time seeing the Jets in training camp.
Right. I mean, I heard Malik Taylor had a good day, and that's a guy that played with Aaron Rodgers. I think one guy I really want to see is Allen Lazard, right? I think last year was a tough year for him, but he didn't have Aaron Rodgers. Now, that's not an excuse that he should take, but I think having Aaron Rodgers, I think he should really take full advantage of it and make as many plays as possible. So that's what I'm looking to watch.
Quincy, you'll be with us throughout the summer. You'll be with us throughout the season. Thanks for stopping by here on Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Let's go down to the field to check in with Caroline and Baldy.
Is this live?
Awesome. Thanks, Ethan, here with Brian Baldinger of NFL Network, our great friend. Now, Baldy, let's take a look at the defensive line. It's going to look a little bit different this year. Obviously, it was a powerhouse for the Jets last season, but the Jets are going to be missing Bryce Huff, Quentin Jefferson, and John Franklin Myers, who combined for 19 and a half sacks last year. So how are they going to fill that gap this year?
Well, I mean, Hassan Reddick is going to be here. Like when he is, we'll see. But he's a better player. He's a full every down player. So he'll be here. Javon Kinlaw comes in. Right now, Caroline, if you just look at where these guys came from, you got 6 former number 1 draft picks out here. Will McDonald, you know, in his year 2. I just talked with Jermaine Johnson, year 3. Like, he's ready to take a real jump. He jumped last year, but he's going to take a jump. And, of course, this whole defensive line is led by Quentin. And so the big thing to me is if they can play with the lead in the second half of some of these games and let these guys really pin their ears back, they could put up some big sack numbers.
Now, obviously, Jermaine Johnson had that jump in year 2 last year. What is he saying that the jump in year 3 is going to look like for him?
You know what it is? You become a smarter player. I think you'll see him stand up a little bit more than what he used to, like when he was down. I think these guys are learning that you can't just look at the ball. You've got to look at other things. You know, these tackles are moving before the ball snapped. And so you got to get a takeoff. But if the tackles are going to get a jump, you know, maybe more speed to power from Jermaine this year. And he's bigger and stronger. You can see it. He's bigger and stronger to be able to walk these tackles back into the lap of quarterbacks.
Now, what about, you mentioned him, Will McDonald, his second year. Obviously, we saw that transformation with Jermaine in his second year. What do you need to see from Will McDonald during training camp this time of year to make sure he's on the right path that Jermaine was on last year?
Well, I think it starts with just effort, you know, which I think you'll see. But every defensive lineman almost needs a redshirt year. It's just so different than what he did at Iowa State, you know, back in college. And so I think, you know, just understanding formations, down distance, seeing the clock, you know, when it's ticking down, like all the little things that can get you a little jump, you know, in your pass rush. We know he can bend, we can turn the corner. Those things are good. But I think he's stronger this year, so I want to see more power from him, and he should get more reps this year.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, lots of new elements added to the D-line, so we're going to keep our eyes peeled. And, Ethan, I'm going to throw it back to you, but we'll be back with some other good stuff.
Hey, Rex said you could be late if you're really
All right,
good.
the NFL Fan of the Year presented by Captain Morgan is back. The New York Jets want to celebrate you and your dedication to the green and white. Submit your nomination at nyjets.com/fan of the year. All right, we made a little trade on set. Quincy Enunwa out. Mark Sanchez in on set on Training Camp Live, presented by Honda.
What a downgrade.
Oh, I don't know about that.
They got a good
I don't know
player.
about that.
Hey, Training Camp Live is presented by Honda,
that's right.
and you have some information for us
That
about
was-
your first car?
That was my first car ever. My dad gave me his old 96 Honda Civic, silver, 2-door, stick shift, manual shift car. So that was a manual transmission. That's no fun.
What was your first time driving a stick shift like?
Well, I was going to go to driving school, but I had to pass my dad's driving school first, which was much tougher than the generic driving school at like the local junior college.
Yeah.
So that was a whole experience in itself. That would probably take up the entire B block. So we're going to leave that there and just leave that with my therapist.
We'll save that for the podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to somebody about it.
Professional talking about B blocks.
It didn't bother me. I'm talking to somebody about it, so it's no big deal. Yeah, it was a new world, but I highly recommend that people learn how to drive stick shift, and it helped when I got to college because freshman year, I was the only guy who had a car freshman year, and everybody wanted to drive their girlfriend from the airport or drive their buddies around, and nobody could drive it, so it was great.
Oh, I see, yeah.
All right, so let's
That's
talk
smart.
a little bit about football now.
I like that. Good idea.
What kind of vibes do you get upon returning here to One Jets Drive?
Yeah, I think there's just a sense of like a chip on everybody's shoulder. People are I don't think upset is the word, but just they felt like they missed an opportunity last year.
Yep.
And it happened early. Aaron Rodgers goes down. That's a huge shift in your entire plan for the year. And to try and rebound from that, I thought they did as good a job as they possibly could. But, I mean, you're fighting for your life when that kind of stuff happens. So I think everybody just kind of looked around, took a breath, and said, all right, let's refocus, let's reshift, and let's really attain what we're capable of. And let's, realize our potential as a team. And I think they're primed and poised to do that. I think what they did with the offensive line and in the draft, with Fashanu coming in, learning from Tyron Smith and a guy like Morgan Moses, bringing in Simpson from Baltimore, Tippmann, I love at center, and then Elijah Vera Tucker. There's a big season for him. My man's got to stay healthy, but that's my USC guy. So
It is your USC guy.
obviously I'm rooting for him. But, I mean, those are 6 legitimate players that need to keep number 8 upright, and then you mix in Breece Hall. You draft a guy like Malachi Corley to get in there with Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. So you got opportunities on offense. Obviously, I'm leaning hard on the offense, but the defense,
you are.
they took care of their business last year. You know what I mean? So these guys can go. Look at those studs up
Didn't
front.
you play with Tyron?
I did play with Tyron. He was at USC, believe it or not. That was like one of the scariest guys. Not that like we did any hazing, if anybody was asking, but like, older guys have to, indoctrinate, let's say, the The freshman. So walking up to a guy like that with a wingspan like that who looks like a 40-year-old man at 17, 18 years old is a little intimidating. But he played along pretty well and was an excellent teammate and has become quite a pro.
And you overlapped with him in Dallas as well?
Yes. We were back together in Dallas and had a great time there. That was Dak's rookie year. But he's just, a block of granite over there, man, and he's fun to play with and just an excellent guy in the locker room. But there's Fashanu. You see it watching those older guys. Soak it up, young pup.
The young pup's got a pro's body, doesn't he?
Oh, my
You
gosh.
see a lot of guys come out
That's
and
right.
you're like, oh, he's got to add some weight. He needs that pro strength program. But
It's so funny.
He comes
Yeah.
out of Penn State and you're like, hey, he looks like a veteran.
He can move. Great feet. Great balance for such a big man. And he's still, it's like some of these things, you look at puppies and they got these huge paws and you're just like looking at their potential like, man, this thing's going to eat everything in sight and grow out of this house. He's going to be a monster. And so his job is to keep old Snowman upright. So I think he's got his work cut out for him.
So number 8, what does that do for him knowing that I do have Tyron Smith taking care of my blind side?
I think subconsciously there is just a sense of calm and peace, understanding, hey, man, I'm completely focused on this defense and their look and my guys on offense. How are we going to attack them? I don't care who you are. If you're Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, you name it. If you start getting hit at the quarterback position, I don't care who it is, your eye level, and you can tell, starts to drop a little bit, and now you're not looking over the tops of these offensive linemen's helmets. You're kind of finding lanes and making sure there's no other colored jerseys entering your sacred space that is the pocket. So as long as they can keep him upright, that dude's a surgeon like Dexter, man. He'll cut you up and dice up your defense. That guy's one of the best to ever do it. So they got everything they need. Now it's just a matter of executing.
We saw early in camp that, like Robert Saleh said this yesterday, guys are in and out of the huddle a lot quicker, more plays in practice, and that's a byproduct of just being in the system
100%.
for another year. From your perspective, even a guy like Garrett Wilson, who's on the screen right now, when he's able to have not as much thinking going on, how much is that going to help the offense just as a whole?
Well, here's the thing. When you say second year in the system, you feel 100 times better. It becomes like riding a bike, like driving a stick shift car. I'll bring it all the way back, Coach. Let's go. So essentially you just get more and more comfortable speaking this new language, and you're thinking less. And you have to identify this offense. Any offense has to be this living, breathing thing that grows over time. It can't stay the same, and it can't get worse because you keep bringing in new guys that don't know the system. So now you got to do some remedial coaching to get everybody on the same page. You want that thing to develop together with the same type of players, same core guys, speaking the same language over and over. So the bottom line is you put pressure on the defense immediately. You get up to the line of scrimmage, your mind is free, and you're just reacting and playing fast. That's the ultimate goal, and I think when you have guys that do it for more than 1 year in one system, you see the jump in their growth, and you should expect that from this team.
Can you speak to the freedom that Aaron Rodgers has with Nathaniel
Yes.
Hackett? His second year in the system here with the Jets, but it's like you go back to Green Bay, and the guy's been playing this is his 20th season in the National Football League.
Exactly right. And this guy has a Rolodex in his head of every defense that you can ever imagine. He can recall those things because he has an incredible processor chip in his brain, and this guy can make you look bad. So all that information and all that experience only lends itself to success. And so I'm excited to see this thing. We got shortchanged a little bit last year. I think everybody's starving for a little more Jets football and some excitement. This is going to be fun.
What do we have to do to get you calling one of the games this year?
Listen, call my guys at Fox, man.
Okay.
I loved coming out for that Eagles game last year. That crowd was electric.
Yep.
That was, it was so fun for me because I'd been a part of both organizations. And, you got to play it straight on air and try not to lean one way or the other. But, you kind of find yourself rooting for both teams. Yeah. And what a fun win for the Jets fans last year. And that place was exploding, man. MetLife was on fire. And, you miss those things of being a part of a great organization. And it was really fun for me. So I'm back anytime. You just let me know.
Well, I'm thinking the fans miss you, and we're going to have this guy on the official podcast, so check that out.
Yeah, check it out. That's a little teaser. We hope to see you at training camp.
Absolutely.
The game, whenever you want to come, but we want to see you at MetLife because kickoff is right around the corner. Be there for every big matchup this season with the Jets 2024 season tickets. For more information on how to purchase, call or text 800-469-5387. All right, for more on this Jets practice here on Training Camp Live presented by Honda, let's go back down to the field with Caroline and Baldy.
All right, I told you we'd be back with more good stuff. Baldy, we got to talk about someone who is in a completely different spot this time of year than last year, Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Now he had a whole offseason to get stronger and not just rehab. What's he going to look like this year?
I mean, he has a chance to be the best. Behind this offensive line, the commitment to the run game, Aaron Rodgers under center. I mean, because you're right. Last year, he was in a pitch count, and he was just working his way back. But as the season went on, you saw him get stronger and stronger. He could finish runs. Now he's coming in here, and he knows he's the focal point. And it should be much balanced. I mean, I expect huge things out of Breece.
Now, he had the second most scrimmage yards amongst running backs last season next to Christian McCaffrey. And he was exactly what you were saying. On a pitch count, he was not practicing training camp. He said for sure he's going to get over 1,000 yards. What's this season going to really look like for him?
Well, first of all, you got to know that when you come back from that ACL tear, it's a new knee. It takes a year before you really start feeling good again. He literally, because of his ability to hit home runs and take it from anywhere, we've seen it in 2 years, anywhere on the field, he can finish the run. It's important for the receivers to understand that, tight ends, guys downfield. This is a guy that can finish. So, I mean, I think 1,500 is not out of the question here. I don't know if Curtis Martin still has the record, whoever, but he could be chasing that this season.
Yeah, 100%. Now, there's a lot of depth behind him, too. 2 drafted rookies with Isaiah Davis, Breeland Allen, and then also Izzy Abanikanda. So what's that competition going to look like with all 3 of those guys?
Well, I mean, somebody's got to be the backup. Breece can't take all the carries. So, the first thing you notice, and we just did, when you look at Breeland Allen and you look at Isaiah Davis, they're big.
Big dudes.
Big, thick guys, okay, that look like they can take some punishment and deliver some punishment. And so maybe that's like the plan. Maybe Breece Hall gets you there. Maybe these guys can finish. But there's going to be major competition. I don't leave Izzy out of it in year 2. But there's going to be major competition here throughout training camp and preseason to see who's going to be the backup right now to Breece Hall.
When you have that kind of depth at running back, how does that change how the offensive scheme kind of operates? Because you can obviously utilize both of them, but then you also have a great wide receiver room. You've got all of these different weapons with tight ends. So it's how does that add to the offensive scheme?
Well, I mean, look, you just have more depth. It's a long season. You're going to use a lot of bodies to get through the season and get to playoffs football in January. One thing I noticed, though, about both Braylon and Isaiah, just out at minicamp this year, they both catch the ball really well. They weren't asked to do it at Wisconsin, South Dakota State, their respective colleges. But I noticed in training camp that they caught the ball very, very well. And so sometimes that position, all right, who protects the best, who catches the ball the best, can we put them out there on third downs when the blitzes are coming? Those kind of things can really add up. But overall, you've got a lot of skill on the offense.
Yeah, a lot of skill on the offense, a lot of different weapons for Aaron Rodgers to utilize. We're going to have our eyes on those rookies. But Ethan, back to you.
Awesome. Great stuff, Caroline. Great stuff, Baldy, who I think is wearing the green NFL Network polo because he's at Jets camp. That's what I would like to think. But now we welcome in Brayan Edwards to the set here on Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. We had Quincy. We had Mark Sanchez. Now we get Mark's receiver, Brayan Edwards. How you doing, man?
I'm glad, man. I'm great. Great to be here. It's a beautiful day. Last year when I was out here, it was super hot. So I'm enjoying the chill weather.
How are things going for you back in the Motor City, back in Michigan?
Things are going well. The show that I do at Brayan Edwards and Maz weekly show is doing really well. The Lions are a good team that I have to talk about all the time. Gets annoying, but at least they are good. Michigan won the national championship last year, so it's been a good space in the sports media world for myself. And family's doing good. The draft is in Detroit, and I got a chance to represent I got a chance to represent the New York Jets in Detroit, the city I'm from. So life's good right now.
All right, so we're looking at Garrett Wilson. What do you think about the uniform change from 17 to 5, huh?
Comfortability is the thing. Garrett wore 5 at Ohio State, and this is the number. This is his identity. This is who he is. He wanted to go back to it. He's got 5. Aaron's back, so I'm looking for him to have a good year. Numbers, I know it sounds crazy to people that don't get it, but numbers are a person's identity.
Yes.
You get it in high school. You take it to college. You want to take it to the NFL, and that's what he's done this year.
What has impressed you most early in his career? What he's been able to accomplish with 6 different quarterbacks throwing the football over 2 years.
I think the biggest thing is he stays present. I think it's so hard for wide receivers or individuals that don't touch the ball on a natural, all the time basis to stay present in games. When you're losing games, when you're not being featured in games, when you're going through different quarterbacks. Like you said, he's played with 6 quarterbacks in his 3-year span. So I think staying present, always being ready, always being able to perform is something that a lot of people have taken note to with Garrett Wilson. He's always present. Now, you put him in situations this year, he should be more than present.
You know, I'm glad you said that because every practice it feels like we're talking about Garrett Wilson to the point where he's having a good practice every practice, so you don't talk about him.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I don't want to put numbers on it necessarily. What are realistic expectations from you, Breland, from number 5 in 2024?
12 touchdowns, 1,400 yards.
Okay.
I'm just being honest. I mean, you look at the backfield. Brees Hall is one of the best running backs in the game. Having that run game is going to allow you to be comfortable with the pass game. It's going to take some ease off the secondary and the coverages that they're going to see. And then when you get Mike Williams, you get him healthy. Tyler Conklin out there, Brees Hall, you got some other weapons at the wide receiver position and tight end spot. It's going to help Garrett Wilson see more man-to-man coverage, more one-on-one. And you got number 8 back throwing him the ball. He knows how to find a wide receiver or two in his tenure. So
fantasy alert.
Fantasy alert. But I think that's what's going to help. I mean, 8's back and 5 is ready.
Okay, Mike Williams started camp on the PUP list, coming off an ACL that he sustained week 3 last year with the Chargers. Big-bodied receiver. You were a big-bodied receiver. What is he going to provide, not only Rodgers, but Wilson and Brees Hall in terms of space?
Yeah, 100%. You know, Mike Williams, I tore my ACL in December of my rookie year and still came back and started that season. You're talking 2005. The medicine has changed. The procedures have changed. So I definitely think he'll be ready and locked and loaded. He's a big-body guy. He's a much better receiver than people give him credit for because of the injuries. When he's playing, this is one of the elite receivers in the NFL. He's tall. He provides you with the 50-50 ball, gives you spacing out there. And then, like you said, spacing for Garrett Wilson. I think it allows Garrett to now play more of an inside, outside, travel, go on this side of the ball. It allows him to be in different spaces, see different matchups at the line of scrimmage. So I think having Mike Williams is going to help him a lot.
From 117 to another, what do you think about the rookie Malachi Corley and his traits that are, I would say, unique in terms of physicality, what he could provide and what his learning curve is?
Well, this is always going to be a special player in my heart because this is a guy I actually drafted this year for the New York Jets at the draft, Malachi Corley. Excited about yards after catch. Yeah. I think that's one thing. I think it's one thing to catch the ball, speed ways, but it's another thing when you can catch the ball and you can turn that 6-yard catch into a 30-yard play. It's the yards after catch, and it's his physicality. He's going to be one of those players, not just wide receivers, players on his team that's physical, that's gritty, gets that extra yard. It's going to get the team going. So I like him. That yards after catch is very underrated.
How about this guy? Brees Hall came back from an ACL last year, more than 1,500 yards from scrimmage. People asked him, hey, do you think you're going to get 1,000 yards? He said, no doubt. I'm not even worried about that. He's got his eyes set on being an all-pro. He wants his team to win, but he considers himself one of the best backs in the National Football League. How much better can he be considering you took a slow approach with him? You played the long game last year, and he really came on down the stretch.
I think you start here. You know, if he doesn't get hurt in year 1, I'm not sure that his teammate wins Offensive Rookie Player of the Year. I think it's Brees Hall, and I actually think he makes the Pro Bowl that year. But then guys get hurt. You want to see how do they come back? Are they nervous? Are they timid? How's the mental when you come back? And Brees Hall came back just like a bat out of hell, if you will. He looked just like he did year 1. He looked like he did at Iowa State. So you saw the confidence last year. You saw the reserve, and you saw the fight to get back. Now, guys had a whole year back. He's had a whole another offseason to refine his game and find out who he is in this offense. I'm excited for Brees Hall, and I think his confidence level is deserved because he's not the only one that thinks he's one of the best running backs in the league. All the analysts, all the sayers, all the outliners, they think he's one too.
Braylon, that was a monster slight that he wasn't one of the NFL's top 100 players. That was crazy.
But things like that they're done on purpose, and the purpose for him.
You're saying it's scripted. You're saying the NFL scripted. That's
I'm
what Braylon's saying.
No. Braylon didn't say that. Because if it was scripted, then we wouldn't have lost the AFC Championship. But I think it's going to piss him off and put him in place because he deserves to be on that list. He deserves to be one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL based off what he's done. The fact that he's not that's just extra motivation that you go on every week, and it starts on this practice field right here.
All right. I think that's how we have to wrap up Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Brayan Edwards, we appreciate your time. We'll see you throughout training camp. We'll hear from you throughout the season. And if you're watching this show right now, We have a day off tomorrow. Everyone relax. I hope you get to recharge. I hope you have a safe flight home.
Appreciate it. Thank
I
you.
plan to recharge, and we'll be back right here in the saddle.
Can we just say this?
Uh-oh.
That Breland got
I didn't step on anything.
What did Breland get?
somebody talked to him out there in the parking lot today and said, hey, good luck this season.
Yeah.
Good luck this season.
He looks good.
He's ready to roll.
Looking like he's in playing shape.
I appreciate you. I came out here last year, man, and I saw Aaron, and I didn't feel like I looked my best at 40. At 41, I came out here, I feel a little better. I've been in the gym, so, you just never know.
You never know.
I might get a phone call.
You might get a phone call. That's exactly right. Well, we'll be back here in the saddle here in Training Camp Live Monday, July 29th, I believe it is. All the days are kind of running together. But thanks for watching. For all your coverage, be sure to check out NewYorkJets.com, and we'll see you Monday.